All right, Matt, Derrick of Chiefs Digest, join us here. We're going to overreact to a little bit of preseason. That's really all you can do about this. So let's just start it off hot. Shane Buechele, we got a quarterback controversy going on, or what's going on?
Hey, this is what Shane Buechele does. I mean, he's been a money player the last few years in training camp and the preseason. Did it again today. I mean, there's a reason why the Chiefs have kept him around and feel like he's a developmental quarterback. And he did even maybe a little Mahomesian thing on that touchdown. So he had his moment today.
Yeah, is he going to force the Chiefs to keep three quarterbacks on the roster again, or what's going to happen there, you think?
Yeah, there's a pretty good chance. I mean, especially because the NFL has changed the third quarterback and emergency quarterback rules to really incentivize keeping a third guy. And I don't think that Shane Buechele would clear waivers. I think there's a pretty good chance another team would take a shot at him. So if you want to make sure that you've got somebody who's familiar with the offense and obviously has shown moments and they've been developing him, he's a guy I think you're going to have to keep on the 53. So I do think they're going to keep three quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm going to let you take your chance here. Probably talk Chiefs fans off the ledge a little bit there. First drive, Derek Carr kind of goes out and does his thing on the defense there. Any reaction to that from you? I'll just give you the floor there.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of frustrations. One certainly was that the one thing that Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator, wanted to see was solid tackling. And I don't think you saw that. I mean, Alvin Kamara had a couple of big runs. The secondary had some leaks. Saints moved the ball pretty effectively. The second thing is that the big concern was that if you don't have Chris Jones out there, how much pass rush do you have? And the Chiefs struggled to get, I think, an effective pass rush going most of the game, too. They did blitz a few times, but that's problematic to me in a preseason game if that's what you've got to do to get a pass rush going. So they need some improvements there. I think you'll see them getting back to kind of start. But then again, remember they are still missing some guys. L'Jarius Sneed's not in this game. They're still trying to figure out a little bit of what they're going to be doing at that cornerback spot with the depth and testing some guys around. So I tell you, get off the ledge. It's not scary yet, especially because Steve Spagnuolo's got a pretty good track record of figuring things out eventually.
Yeah, I know we're not going to do super deep dive into this preseason game. Just overall takeaway, optimism, negative on the first one. Just what's the takeaway from the first game?
Yeah, I think the one thing that really stands out to me was just how well some of the reserves played on the second and third teams, because there are guys there that this team is going to count on. Whether a cornerback like a Khalifa Lassie makes this team or Echo Boydo from Kansas State makes it, they're going to be on the border. I mean, they're putting it there, especially if injuries continue to hit. Chiefs may have lost Nick Jones for a little bit today as another rookie corner. That might give those two guys a good chance, and I thought both of them played pretty well today. Justin Ross, who's been a fan favorite as a receiver, played well on special teams, had a couple of nice catches. I think he certainly enhanced his roster candidacy. And there's a lot of other guys too. I mean, they're kind of below the radar. Richie James with a nice touchdown catch. I think he's going to be a key part of this team. So to me, even though the starters may not have shined, you didn't see a lot of the first team offense, but you saw some key contributors that this team is going to count on during the season that I think, had some good moments today.
Yeah, and pretty much the only thing you can kind of take away from these preseason games is that roster buildup. That's the number one talker throughout all of these things. You kind of led into it there. The wide receiver room's always a talker with the Chiefs offense. How many are they going to keep? How many tight ends do you think that they'll keep by the time we hit the regular season?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, one of those things that Andy Reid says is always, hey, make it difficult for us to cut you and then make it easy for somebody else to pick you up. I think there's a lot of receivers that are making it really tough for this team to let them go, especially with the Kadarius Toney injury. I mean, 7 receivers are making a case to make this team, and I'd have a hard time saying no to any one of them. Just because this team is going to need some depth. It is going to be a wide receiver room by committee. They're going to need a lot of guys. The problem is that there's going to be a number crunch, because if you keep 7 receivers, can you keep 4 running backs plus 3 quarterbacks? Can you keep a 6th corner? Can you keep a 5th safety? Can you keep 4 tight ends? I mean, those are the tough decisions that Brett Veach and his staff are going to have on cutdown day, because to me, it's not as much about maybe settling the depth chart at a couple of positions as that it's really going to be picking where you need your depth the most.
Yeah, quickly here, because I feel like it's all that I see on Twitter. Are you buying Justin Ross stock, or is this a legit thing?
He's got absolutely incredible athleticism. I think he's still a fairly raw player, but if he puts it together, yeah, there's a lot of potential there for that kid.
Yeah, all right. And obviously the biggest talker, every Chiefs fan stressing about it. They're still sweating about it. When are we going to see Chris Jones just take the floor? Floor is yours, Matt.
If I knew that, I could be making some money right now. Nobody seems to know, and Chris seems to be having fun with it too. I'm not sure that everybody's having fun with Chris Jones not being there right now. I think after this game, the Chiefs aren't going to, get into a nightmare scenario. They're not going to go meltdown mode because they missed Chris Jones for one game. They're still going to hold hard to the course. Question's just going to be, how long is it going to take for these two sides to broach the gap between them? Chiefs are cautiously optimistic, but they've been cautiously optimistic now for a couple of months, and we haven't really seen a lot of movement from either side. Your guess is as good as anybody's, but I can tell you that this is the week, the circle, as far as then now, you're getting about 3 weeks away from the season starting. This is when Chris Jones needs to be there in order to get ready for the season.
Yeah, and just for clarity purposes, are you thinking like Aaron Donald money? You think that's what Chris Jones is looking towards?
If I'm Chris Jones, I absolutely am. I mean, I'm looking at the close end of that. The really difficult thing for both sides here is that between Aaron Donald and Quinnen Williams is like a $7.7 million gap. And I mean, that's ridiculous when you're trying to figure out what Chris Jones' value is, because if I'm Chris Jones, I'm saying I absolutely should be closer to Aaron Donald than to Quinnen Williams. But Chiefs are also, they're a team on a budget. I mean, they're trying to win a Super Bowl here, and they don't have all the money in the world. So this is I get why it's difficult for both these sides, but at some point somebody's going to have to blink, and I don't know who's going to blink at this point.
Yeah, most interesting thing to follow in Chiefs camp for sure. All right, Matt, appreciate the time as always.
Appreciate it, TJ. Take care.